Okay, so the past few days we've been talking about statistics in class. And the definition of statistics is the process of collecting, organizing, and analyzing data. So the past few days, all we've been talking about is collecting data, how to collect it, the surveys we can make, how to make biased questions, the difference between biased questions and fair questions, and all these other things. And now we're moving on to, now that we've collected the data, we need to organize it. If you have a bunch of data collected, if it's not organized, it doesn't do you any good. And so we have to organize our data into a nice way of looking at it. So on the left right here, we've got some hours of sleep. And so what I did is, let's just say I asked some students how many hours of sleep they got last night. One student got 8 hours of sleep, one student got 7.5, one student got 7, one student got 8.5, and so on. So instead of having this random little jumble of numbers, we are going to organize it in such a way so that it's easier to look at. So one of my students suggested, why don't we order it from least to greatest, which is a great idea. And so the first thing I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to draw a little chart here. And on this chart, I'm going to put the hours of sleep from least to greatest. And so it looks like the smallest right here is 4.5 hours that boys got. So I'm actually going to start at 4, just because I like clean numbers. So 4 hours, and it looks like it goes up to 9. So I'm going to go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's high enough. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to record everybody's hours of sleep on this chart. And so let's see. One person got 8 hours, so I'm going to put a little dot above the 8 to indicate that one person got 8 hours. 7.5, so we'll go in between 7 and 8. There's 7.5, 7, 8.5, 4.5, 7.5, another one, 8, 9, 8, 7, 6. One person got 4 hours. Oh, good thing I put 4 then. Okay, 8.5, 8.5, and 9. Okay. Oh, and another 9.5. So I guess I should have made this a little bigger. We'll go to 10, and we'll put a 9.5 right there. So this right here is just how many people got 4 hours, how many people got 8 hours, and it's just a way of organizing my data so it's nicer to look at. Now, it's always important when you have any kind of chart, you need to make sure that you label it, because if somebody comes up and looks at this, they're not going to know what it represents. And so it's important to write that this chart represents the hours of sleep that the boys are getting. Now, we are also going to do the same thing. This is the hours of sleep that the girls got. And so it looks like that the lowest was 4.75 hours, and the highest was 9.5. Okay, so I'm actually going to make, or try and make, the same chart, and I'm going to go from 4, we'll go from 4 to 10 again. 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 4 hours, 5, 6. And I'm going to label it the hours of sleep that the girls got. Okay, oh, I kind of smeared it, sorry. Okay, so we'll go 8, and we'll hurry and mark how many for each. 4.75. Now, some people want to know how to graph 4.75. If you look, 4.5 would be about here, And so if you cut it into quarters, 4.75 would be around right there. 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 7, 8.75. There's 8.5, so 8.75 would be around there. 9.5, 7, 8, and 8, so I'm going to do 2 of them. And 7 and 7. Okay, so now these are done for the boys and the girls. Now, what we call this is we actually call this kind of way of organizing data, we call this a dot plot. So that's actually what I'm going to finish naming my notes as dot plots. And so it's just a nice way of looking and comparing and analyzing the data that I received over here. And so now I can kind of look and I can say, well, it looks like the boys are usually getting between 7 and 9 hours of sleep, and the girls more so between 7 and 8 hours of sleep. And so this is called a dot plot. Now, another thing that we like to add to these dot plots is something that we'd like to call a frequency table. So I'm actually going to do a table for the boys and for the girls. So I'm going to take this data right here and this data right here, and I'm going to make a table for boys and girls. And I'm not going to do a complete table, but I'm just going to do a little one for boys and for girls. And in this table that I call a frequency table, I'm just going to pick a few examples. So I'm going to say that on this side, this side will be the hours of sleep for both boys and girls. And I'm going to record just for kicks. Let's see, we'll go 6 hours, who got 7, who got 8, and who got 9. And we'll go 6, 7, 8, and 9 for the boys as well. Now, if this were a true table, I would have listed every single number in this side. Like I would have done 4 hours, 4.5, 6, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5. I would have used all those numbers here, but I'm just doing it quick since it's just an example. Now on this side of the table, I am going to record how many times I see 6 hours. So if you look up here in the boys, the 6 hours only occurred once. Only one person got 6 hours of sleep for boys. So I'm going to put a 1 right there. How many boys got 7 hours of sleep? Looks like 1, 2 of them did. So I'm going to put a 2 there. How many got 8 hours? 1, 2, 3 people did. So I'm going to say 3 boys got 8 hours of sleep. And 9 got 2 hours of sleep. Sorry, 2 boys got 9 hours of sleep. And now what I'm going to call this side, it's too big to write how many people got this many hours, so I'm just going to say we call this part of the chart the frequency. And the definition of frequency is just how many times a number occurs. So how many times did 6 occur in the chart? It only occurred once. So same thing here. Frequency is going to go on the girls' chart as well. So I'll draw an arrow because frequency is for the girls' chart too. I'll just put a little F for frequency. So the frequency for girls, no girls got 6 hours of sleep, so I'm going to say the frequency is 0. 7, 5. So 5 girls got 7 hours of sleep. 5 girls got 8 hours of sleep. And only 1 girl, it looks like, 1 girl got exactly 9 hours of sleep. So there's an example of a frequency table. Now, excuse me, the last thing that we need to do is one number that will also, or sorry, I should say a term that you will hear in statistics is something that we call the mode. And the definition of a mode is this. The definition of a mode is just the most common number, or in other words, the number with the highest frequency. Which one appears the most? Which one is the most frequent? And so, for the boys and the girls, I'm going to find the mode for both. And just so you know, on the homework, instead of using the word mode, they use the word modal, M-O-D-A-L. So just be aware that if it says modal, it really just means mode. And so if we go back to the boys, the mode, it looks like for the boys that there was a tie for the mode. Okay, so for 8 and 8.5 is our mode. So I'm actually going to put both. I'm going to put 8 and 8.5 for the mode. Then, if we go to the girls, it looks like the most frequent occurrence was, oh, we got a tie there too. So for 7 and 8 hours of sleep, that is our mode. And so, there are other ways to talk about the data that you receive and the data that you organize. And we'll be talking about those later. But for now, this homework tonight is about taking data like this and organizing it into dot plots, or you will be getting a frequency table, and then your job is also to transfer this information into a dot plot. So, other than that, those are all the notes for today. So if you have, and I'll just back up a little bit here. Oh, just kidding, I can't. Maybe I can move this up a bit. So if you have all these notes on your paper, you should be good to go. And so make sure that you have all these numbers in your notes and also where they come from. So make sure you write this too, and that should be it.